I'm sure many of us know someone, if not you, who's felt uncomfortable talking about religion and money or just have feelings of shame or guilt about it. Welcome to Yahweh's Money, a podcast where we discuss the crossroads or intersections of religion and money. We're going to go deep into topics like tithing and saving and debt and so much more from the religious view. I'm your host, Shay Cook, CEO and founder, Crusaders for Change, LLC, and our co-host is Vanessa McNelley, one of our financial counselor, coach, educators. Let's talk about God and money. Well, hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Yahweh's Money. Today, we're talking about morals and money. Wow, this is going to be a very fun, interesting, possibly messy episode. So I am Shay Cook, one of your co-hosts, and we have Vanessa here with us today as well.
Hey there. Yeah, this is going to be messy. I'm sure it is. Yeah, but it's going to be fun. It's going to be a fun
It's
mess.
going to be fun. Yeah. You're going to tell some people's business, our own, maybe some other people's,
Right?
and go into what God has to say about all of this. Because, oh my God, I know He has a lot to say about our morals, our ethics, values around money, but specifically our morals and money. And according to secretservice.org, nearly $100 billion at a minimum has been stolen from COVID-19 relief programs set up to help businesses and people who lost their jobs during the pandemic. As a financial counselor, do you ever feel compelled to dig into a client's finances if fraud is suspected, Vanessa?
This is a good and tough question. Uh, and I think it's one of those that kind of comes back to, our character, because I think a lot of
Mm-hmm.
times, you want to do the right thing, but you also don't want to be a snitch,
Yeah,
And
exactly.
well, they say snitches get
Stitch,
stitches
get
or whatever.
stitches.
Uh,
Yep.
but it's one of those things where I think at the end of the day, we have to be able to separate ourselves from our clients. And,
Mm-hmm.
whatever they do,
Mm-hmm.
whatever we do, and
Exactly.
somehow, some way, things are always going to come out in the wash. Things are going to be out there. But I think too, we have to be careful because, if we work as fiduciaries, and
Mm-hmm.
we work for that person, and we a lot of times have this whole, confidentiality piece as well.
Mm-hmm.
We want to work with people who feel comfortable telling us what's going on in their lives.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
if we start talking about things or putting things out there, we lose that credibility too. So, in my mind, people always get caught up in whatever's going to happen. Somebody's going to find out, but I'm not going to be the one who's telling on them.
Exactly. Yeah, my answer would be no, even though sometimes I feel compelled to point them in the right direction or
Right.
help them know or see the right way to go. But yeah, I ain't trying to get stitches out in these streets, even though sometimes I will tell on them to the Lord and be like, all right, Lord, now this is what I know, and I know you know, but I want you to know that I know, and
Right.
here you go. Here's what I heard, and so you do with it what you please, because I don't want any part of that.
Yeah.
Don't be coming up into my house trying to arrest me for what somebody else has done, because I don't have time for that. So, and
Yep.
in Proverbs 10:2, it says, tainted wealth has no lasting value, but right living can save your life.
Hmm.
So that basically sums it up right there, for people that are
Totally.
doing the wrong thing, you need to
Yeah.
do what has
Yeah.
lasting value, it's right
Yeah.
living.
Right. And I think this verse, just by itself, I think it can bring people a lot of peace. I know it brings me peace
Mm.
because I think
Mm-hmm.
a lot of times we get so caught up in what other people are doing, and we see that they're not doing things the right way and they're hurting other people or they're taking too much, and we're here just kind of living our lives, doing what we do. Scrimping and saving for those vacations or whatever we need in our lives. And we see how other people are out there just blowing money.
Yeah.
But the reality is if something were to happen to, me versus somebody else who'd been kind of overdoing it,
Mm-hmm.
I'll be okay. And I know I'll be okay. And that is
Exactly.
priceless versus somebody who just always takes and doesn't know how they're going to get through the day.
I love that. It would give me peace too, or it does.
Hmm.
Now I'm thinking tainted wealth has no lasting value, but right living can save your life. Proverbs 10:2. You're so right, Vanessa. Because, sometimes you see things in the news or just hear things from family and friends or colleagues in different circles and industries. And you're like, oh my God, this person's doing wrong. But they
Mhm.
have all of the celebrity, they have all of the wealth, the cars, all the materialistic things, the women, the men, whatever. And you're like, "Ugh, really? Are they going to get what's
Mhm.
coming to them? Eventually they will." So there's some other verses
Yep.
out there to say that, like Luke 16:10-12 says, if you are faithful in little things, you will be faithful in large ones. But if you
Mhm.
are dishonest in little things, you won't be honest with greater responsibilities. And if you are untrustworthy with worldly wealth, who will trust you with the true riches of heaven? And if
Mhm.
you are not faithful with other people things, why should you be trusted with things of your own? So
Yeah.
we should be more concerned about what's going to go on in heaven and outside of these materialistic things and worldly things, because that's where it
Mhm.
truly matters.
Yeah. And, to me, this is almost like a parent teaching a child. We
Mm,
don't just say, okay, I'm going to leave you at home for a week by yourself. We say, okay, I'm going to leave you at home for an hour and we're going
yeah.
to see how you do. So,
Mm-hmm.
if you can be trusted with those small things and they
Mm-hmm.
know that, you're going to treat others' property or others' money as your own, then, people are going to be able to say, okay, I can trust this person. I know their heart. I know their heart is always in the right place. And then, yeah, things grow from there. So I think it's just like a parent and a child relationship. We have to earn that trust.
Yeah, that's true. And also, as professionals, as financial counselors, we have
Right.
ethics that we have to follow. And through the Association of Financial Counseling Planning Education, our accrediting body, we as certified counselors, we pledge to them to report any felony related to the practice of the
Right.
profession, or anything that brings disgrace to the profession, or
Hmm.
any lesser crime which involves misrepresentation, fraud, extortation, misappropriation, or theft, or any conspiracy to commit such crime to the AFC Executive Board.
Hmm.
And that's too, as credentialed professionals,
Right.
brings a whole nother level of things that because we have to report,
Yeah.
right? Have you
Right.
ever had to report anything?
I thankfully I have never had to do
Me
that.
either.
Uh,
Yeah.
and it does make me feel better that, if something were to happen, overall you're trying to do what's best for everybody, as a
Mm-hmm.
whole. But we just have to report it. We don't have to deal with the situation. So
Exactly. We don't have to investigate, prosecute. We don't have to do any of that.
exactly. Exactly. So, but yeah, I hope you and I never have ourselves in that situation. We never have to go through that. But yeah, I couldn't imagine having to do that with a client, especially somebody you formed a bond with.
Yeah,
Hmm.
exactly. I've been close to feeling like I have to report by, people disclosing that they owe money on taxes, and then you find out,
Right.
oh, well, why? You didn't do
Hmm.
what? Huh? So it gets close, and thank God they stop before they tell on themselves. And I'm like, oh, because sometimes I
Yep.
feel relief, like, oh, tell lawyers, I don't want to have to report you. Oh my God. I know you're doing something illegal, but I don't need to
Right.
know,
Right.
But
Yeah.
if you tell me, I have to report. So it's like, oh my
Yeah.
God, it's sometimes so scary because I'm like, they're about to tell me something. It's like, and it's, so they don't. Thank God they have
Hmm.
it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So in James 1:12 it says God blesses those who patiently endure testing and temptation. Afterward they will receive the crown of life that God has promised to those who love him. How do you overcome feelings of temptation?
So I think we all have a different way of dealing with temptation. I
Mhm.
know for myself, I am so hard on myself that, if I ever did something that was unethical or, I took too much or whatever it may be, I am going to beat myself up,
Mm,
for the long run. So to me, that temptation is not worth it.
yeah.
That 10 minutes of having everything is not worth the long-term ramifications of it.
Mhm.
So to me, it's just, my own spirit is going to say, you're not going to do that.
Exactly.
uh, but I think we all have different levels of that too, and we all have different ways of responding to that.
Yeah.
So, mhm.
Yeah, I'm a sissy. I first of all, I focus on positivity, but I know and remember God sees all, And ultimately, I just fear God.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I'm scared of God as we're
Right.
supposed to. It says in the word we have to fear
Mhm.
him because I'm scared of what
Yeah.
might happen. And I don't know if it's my Catholic upbringing or my family and, the whole fire and brimstone preaching that we got as a kid, or just seeing what people who have done bad and have stolen and
Yeah.
done bad things, what's happened to them. I'm literally afraid to like steal or just go. Now, when it comes to
Mhm.
food, and I'm tempted by that, I always go back to the food, right? But I will give into those temptations
Mhm.
sometimes. But then of
Yeah.
course their repercussions is the weight gain, right? Or whatever. But when it comes to like money, I don't
Mhm.
know. Like my husband 2 Christmases ago, or maybe 3 Christmases ago, he found $200 bills right by the grocery store. And so he called me and he's like, "What are we going to do with this?" So I was like, "You need to go in the store and find out if anybody's reporting they lost the money." And we called, he went in there and they said no. I
Mhm.
called and they said no. So we end up giving $100 to somebody through a church program that I participated in when you give the gifts. And then we gave another $100 to my family member for a
Mhm.
Christmas gift. I just didn't feel comfortable taking that $200. And maybe
Yeah.
God was leaving that gift for us, but I was like, we were so blessed. So those are the kind of things when I find money, I still am not like, okay, nah, I need to give this away. I don't want to keep it. I don't know.
Right.
I just feel a certain way about that. But yeah, it's just temptation is scary to me, especially when it
Yeah.
comes to money, because I've seen family members get in some real trouble around doing
Right.
some really crazy stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Mm.
I think it's something too that, if we're close in our walk and with our faith, I think that temptation it becomes, less and less and smaller. So we
Mm.
don't even have the temptation to do those things at
Yeah,
some
that's a
point.
good point,
Yeah,
Vanessa.
it's just automatic, it's automatic to think, "Oh, okay, well, I found this money. It's not my money. Let me do the right thing." And to
Mm-hmm.
me, you can get so much joy and happiness
Yes.
out of doing the right thing versus
Mm-hmm.
spending that money.
So
So, yeah.
true. So
Yeah.
true.
So I think
I
God knows
got,
what he's doing. Yeah.
yeah, he really does. And there's a gift, you're right. I think
Mhm.
in more than spending on myself, there was bigger reward in the joy of being able to give that $100 to a needy family during two needy families actually during
Right.
Christmas. One family and
Yeah.
one that I didn't even know. And, just the joy on their face and even if I didn't see it from the one family, but just knowing that we were able to bless them was amazing.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
and in 1 Corinthians 10:13, it says, "The temptations in your life are no different from what others experience." So true. And God
Mhm.
is faithful. He will not allow the temptation to be more than you can stand. When you are tempted, He will show you a way out of that
Mm.
so you can endure. Amen, amen, amen. That's so true.
Ah, right. Yeah. And, we've heard our whole lives God will never give us more than what we can handle.
Hmm.
And this just kind of shows us that in every situation, that is so true. And, we know that in the end, if we can withstand all these things, not only are we going to be a better person, but we're going to be a better Christian, we're going to be a better, parent, a better, whatever it is. I think it
Hmm.
helps in so many different areas of life as long as, you can learn that, temptation is there, but you learn how to handle it early on. And, it doesn't even feel that way anymore. It's just second nature to not be tempted.
Not be tempted. Yeah, that's so true. I know when I was working at the credit union in Nebraska, I'm not going to name any names in case somebody listens, but I was dealing with an employee. I was a supervisor, assistant manager, and this person was stealing from the till.
Yep.
And I was wondering why we were coming up short all every month, and then find out they were buying cars and drugs and stuff with this money.
Mhm.
And this person was okay. I don't want to share too much information if I
Yeah.
identify this
Yeah.
person. But they were in my house and doing some things too and watching my kid and stuff and then find out what they were doing. And I was like, wow, I've never been, we've seen the money and I've never been tempted to steal from an organization, a business. I mean, I would go in the credit union. I worked in several credit
Mhm.
unions and you would go in the vault and there's millions of dollars in there. And I just
Right.
knew there was people that, and obviously we found out later this person was stealing and they were fired. But I was just like, wow,
Mhm.
I've never
Yeah.
been tempted by that because, again, I was fearing God. I was fearing the
Mhm.
repercussions. I didn't want to go to jail. I had a child, I had a husband, I had a life, but some people
Mhm.
don't even think that far. I mean, they're
Right.
just so in the moment, maybe. What do you think, Vanessa?
Yeah, I think it's one of those things where, I always say I treat other people's money and their things like I treat my own.
Mm-hmm.
And I
Mm-hmm.
would not want somebody to come in my house and steal from me and my family or take
Yeah.
from. So I look at it that way that I'm going to do to other people how I want them to do to me.
Mm-hmm.
So when you look at it that way and you see that you're hurting someone else, or you're taking from someone else, um, I think that can be just enough to kind of say, okay, wait, I'm not going to do that. But on the other hand, I think people who are tempted, they see it as this person has gotten more than me. Why
Mm.
don't I have this?
Yeah.
I deserve XYZ. I've gone through this. I've, had to deal with this in my life,
Mm-hmm.
whatever it is. And they almost feel like they're owed something extra
Yeah.
because of it, and that's not always the case, like
Yeah.
we've said, you're given what you can take care of, and you're given what you can kind of cultivate and grow.
Mm-hmm.
So, just because of different walks in life, sometimes some of us are able to cultivate and grow more than others. So, they're not ready for that. And that's why
Yeah.
they've not been given those things. Um,
Exactly.
but yeah, I think it's such a sticky situation when you see somebody is doing something wrong and it's hurting other people and they can't even
Yeah.
see it.
Especially when it's somebody you love and is close
Exactly.
to you.
Right.
And I've seen family members who have stolen from their spouses, or
Mm-hmm.
just some stupid stuff. It's like, really, why would you do that? And it's because,
Yeah.
I think you're right. It's because they think, well, they did me wrong, so I'm going to do them wrong. I'm like,
Yep.
what?
Mm-hmm.
Or like when I was a kid in Alaska, we were actually PCSing from Alaska to Georgia, and my dad, he had got a cash advance to,
Mm-hmm.
because we were going to drive from Alaska to Maryland to Georgia. So it was like a 6-day trip. It was an amazing trip as a family. But he had put the money in our one of our van, our Chrysler van, or maybe it was a Dodge van. Regardless, it was a
Mm-hmm.
van, a beautiful van. And one of my friends went and we were playing in the van, and she stole $250 from my dad. And I'll
Ah,
never forget that. When I was preparing for this today, yesterday, I was like, oh, I remember that. And we could never prove it, but I knew it was her. I don't
yeah.
want to call her name out. I don't even know where she is. That was like 40 years ago. But it's just like, I can't believe this chick stole from my father. And it was just
Yeah.
like so shameful. Like, you went in my father's van and stole his money for his PCS. And I just knew it was her because I didn't see her again. I remember my parents going to our house because, like, Dad, she was in the van with me. She stole the money. So it was like,
Mhm.
and there's so many accounts that I have of people stealing from my family because, like you said, they feel, and it could have been racially motivated. It could have been, I mean, there was a lot of things that were going on at the time that I think might have been a part of it. But it's just like, it's just crazy that people have the nerve. And I just hope and pray sometimes. I know vengeance is the Lord's. It's like, I hope
Mhm.
you got what you got you for $250, little girl, because she was under
Right?
10.
Oh,
It's like,
wow.
to do that to my father. And my dad, the way he is, he's just like, well, it is what it is. God will provide.
Yeah.
But I'm like, no, that chick was wrong.
Mm.
And we could never, like I said, prove it. And we never got it back.
Right.
Yeah. So it's
Right.
just crazy situations like that. My mind
Yeah.
always goes back to, if I was ever tempted, like you said, I'm not as much
Mhm.
anymore, because I know God, and I know what He can do for me and provide. But yeah, it's crazy situations
It
happen.
really is. And I growing up, I saw the same thing. My
Yeah.
parents were business owners, and
Mm.
I tell you, the most impactful thing I have ever seen is when an employee stole from my dad, and my dad found out about it, and he was like, "If you would have asked, I would have given it to you."
Oh, wow.
And that is the most impactful answer I think
Mm.
somebody can be told. I mean, because I'm sure that person felt like crap after that,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
all they would have had to do was just express the situation that they were in, and
Mm-hmm.
their needs would have been met.
Exactly.
And I think that's something too that we have to understand, that sometimes when the temptation is there, we don't know the motivation behind it either.
Mm-hmm.
It could just be because they want, some money to go shopping with, whatever.
Yeah.
But it could also be because they can't feed their children,
They can't feed their
And I
children.
think a
Yeah.
parent would do anything to feed their children.
True. True.
even if it was stealing from somebody else.
Yeah.
So I think sometimes we have to look at those motivators as well.
That's true. As God's children, yeah, we definitely should do that. Yeah.
Mhm.
And in Luke 19:8, it says, but Zacchaeus stood up and said to the Lord, look, Lord, here and now I give half of my possessions to the poor. And if I have cheated anybody out of anything, I will pay back 4 times that amount. So how do we approach a loved one who you believe is stealing money either from you or someone else?
This is such a tough situation and such a tough question. I mean, number one, you don't want to be that person. You don't want to be the person who's always having these conversations with someone
Yeah.
because then that's what you're known for.
Mhm.
But at the same time, we have a responsibility, as a member of a family and as a
Mhm.
Christian or whoever, whatever we believe in,
Yeah.
to kind of talk people through these scenarios. And if they're doing something wrong, it can be a teaching moment, you know?
Mhm.
I think when we have these conversations, the first thing we need to do is just let them know that there is no judgment and you
Mm.
don't see them differently, at that moment. And that's so hard to do because all of our senses are telling us this person can't be trusted.
Yeah.
But at the same time, they may have to earn back that trust as well through
Mhm.
other things. And I think we have those conversations, we have them in an open, honest format. There's no judgment or hate coming through with that, too. And we do it from a place of love because
Yeah.
we want better for that person. We want them to have a better life. We want them to have, a better existence through everything. But I think really it just has to come from love and not a place of hate or anger.
That is so good. And before I respond to that question, our beautiful podcast producer, Adriana, found Matthew 18:15-7. I believe she found the NIV NLT version, but I found the message version or read the message version. I want to share that before I respond. So it
Yeah.
says in Matthew 18:15-17, if a fellow believer hurts you, go and tell him. Work it out between the two of you. If he listens, you've made a friend. If he won't listen, take one or two others along so that the presence of witnesses will keep things honest and try again. If he
Mhm.
still won't listen, tell the church. If he won't listen to the church, you'll have to start over from scratch. Confront him with the need of repentance and offer again God's forgiving love. So, like you said, come from a place of love, Vanessa. Let me be real though. Okay, I have never done this. So sorry, Lord. It seems a bit extreme, but I guess the message is to work it out at all costs. But honestly, I confront people. I agree, you should confront them in love. But honestly, I probably would go off and threaten someone who has stolen from me or my family member. And I'm the shade queen, so I will shade the hell out of you. Lord, forgive me. That's what I do, and I will shame you because I have a problem with people who steal. I'm like this righteous person when it comes from stealing and pride
Mhm.
because I've seen so much stealing and just dishonesty and
Yeah.
just lying and so much all of my life. I just have this built inside of me, which I know I need to work on. So forgive me, listeners, but I will shade and shame you if you're stealing from somebody because I think it's so,
Mhm.
so, so wrong. Like honesty and trust is like my number one value in life. Like if I can't trust you or if you're dishonest, I will disown you. I'm just gonna be real. I'm a human being. I'm just real. That's what I do. I know it's wrong. I know I should come from a place of love, but that's just what I do. So sorry.
Yeah.
So,
And that's not a bad thing. I think all of us, we have that built into us, and it hurts. I mean, it
yeah.
hurts like hell when somebody does that to you. And I think that's something we have to work on. And we're always going to kind of revert back to that and say, okay, well, last year this person did X, Y, and Z. And then we have to take a second and say, okay, but since then things have been good. Or
Yeah.
distance yourself from that person. It's okay
Yeah.
to distance yourself. That doesn't mean you don't care or love that person.
Exactly.
It's
Exactly.
you have to protect yourself too. And
Yeah.
sometimes distance is the best thing for that.
Yeah, I agree. And I do truly believe in forgiveness. I believe forgiveness is for you and God. But when it comes to the person, reconciliation is usually it's always on the table. It's not always for me. Sometimes I'm like, I'll forgive you. I'm not going to necessarily reconcile with you at this
Right.
moment because I ain't feeling you and I don't want you in my life and all your
Hmm.
bad juju and vibes. I don't need that in my life. Like,
Hmm.
I need positivity. And you're bringing negativity by lying, by stealing, by using people. I don't have time for that.
Hmm.
But I know, some people just automatically forgive and reconcile and just keep on, but then that person keeps messing up or the boundaries are down and they keep using you. And I just, at this age and getting older, I don't have time for that. So it's a struggle. It's a struggle. The struggle is real, but I know
Yeah.
forgiveness is meaningful and needed. Grace, as we talked on the last episode, is needed. Mercy. Thank God we have all of that new every day from God
Hmm.
because we mess up every day. So new grace and mercy comes from God every day. Thank you,
Yeah.
Jesus, because I know I deserve it. I
Yeah.
know I don't deserve it, but I appreciate
Yeah.
it.
Well, and I think too, it's okay to have boundaries. Like it's
Yeah.
okay to set those boundaries and to kind of, make sure that you're okay too. Because I think a lot
Mm-hmm.
of times, we're always worried about other people, but it's okay to say no. And I think
Mm-hmm.
as we get older, we learn how to handle these situations. So we're not walked all over either.
Exactly.
Because we can always be taken advantage of. And somebody can tell us 15 times they're going to change, but if they don't, then that is on us to make sure that we are not continually being taken advantage of.
Maya Angelou said
Mhm.
it best, may she rest in peace. If somebody shows you who they are or when they show you they are, believe them.
Yep.
So it shouldn't take you 15 times. The first time was enough. But as us as human beings, we give people chance after chance
Yep.
after chance and you're like, okay, you'd been doing this from the very beginning. So I should have
Yeah.
known you were gonna do this again. But
Yeah.
again, you're supposed to forgive somebody what 7 times, 7 times 7. And I'm just be like, no, you get 1 times 7. Like that's it, 7 times. You're not getting no 7 times 7 times. Lord, forgive me.
Oh.
I have a lot of work to do. But that's just where I am.
Mhm.
So, any final thoughts?
No, I just think, when it comes down to it, we're all tempted by something, some
Mm,
way, somehow in our lives. And we have different temptations. Just
mm-hmm.
like you were saying earlier. I mean, mine is kind of like your Shay. You put a piece of cake in front of me and it's going to be gone in a minute. Uh,
Exactly.
but I think we have to learn what our temptations are and kind of
Yeah.
learn how to control them,
Mm-hmm.
whether, it's money or sex or drugs or any
Mm,
of those things. So I
mm-hmm.
think we need to learn a little bit more about ourselves so we can be better, better humans.
And give ourselves grace. And I
Yeah.
mean, again, if you're stealing money from people, don't give yourself grace. Do the right thing. But I think you need to. But when it comes to like food and all that other kind of stuff, like okay, but just be kind to yourself. Be kind to others. Do unto yourselves as you, or unto others as you want to do unto yourselves. Like is the golden rule. I mean, if you stick to that, I think you'll be well off. So well, thank you for your time today, Vanessa, and everybody for listening and tuning in for us today. That was amazing. You can tune into current and future episodes of Yahweh's Money wherever podcasts are found, including Apple and Google and Spotify. Thank you for joining us. And remember, it's always better Yahweh's way. Thank you for listening to this episode of Yahweh's Money. We hope you enjoyed our deep dive into the crossroads of religion and money. If you have any questions or suggestions of topics you would like to hear us tackle, please email us at yahweh@crusaders4change.org. Also, we would love to hear your feedback on today's episode, so please leave us a review and remember to subscribe to our podcast. To hear all of Yahweh's Money's latest episodes, please visit us at www.crusaders4change.org or wherever podcasts are found. God bless.